Today, we're going to be talking about something that gives most business owners the heebie-jeebies. We're talking small print, big impact, and how to use the legal stuff as a foundation. The legal stuff is not an afterthought, although this area of business is often treated that way. We've given this topic a lot of consideration ourselves, and we've come to the understanding that it's something neither of us is sufficiently qualified to talk about, which is why we've brought in someone who definitely is. Joining us for this kindred conversation to make the fundamental foundation of the legal stuff less scary and onerous is Lucy Legal.
Lucy, or Lucy Wheeler, is a solicitor and founder of Lucy Legal Template Shop. And when she gets the chance, she loves to escape to the mountains. So we might talk about that later. Lucy is really passionate about making the legal side of running a business easy to understand, accessible, and affordable, and dare we say it, even fun at times. So Lucy provides templates for legal contracts and policies for businesses from startups right through to kind of big turnover, seven-figure businesses. So it really covers the whole spectrum, and providing the legal protection that us as business owners really need. So welcome, Lucy. We are
Hello.
really
Thank you.
delighted.
Thank you so much for having me. I am really excited to be here, and I love what you suggested there of small print, big impact. I haven't heard anyone explain it in that way before, and it's so true. And it's those little bits that people think, oh, it's just on the footer of my website. Do I really need to focus on all that? And yeah, I'm excited to get into this conversation to show that it really will make such a big impact on your business if you look after the small print.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess on that kind of line of thought, really, what are some of the worst things you've been told about the legal stuff in your line of work? Like, what sort of mistakes do you often see business owners making? Should we get the scary stuff out of the way first and then come
Well, I
on
was
to...
going to say, do you want the scary stuff or do you want the gossip? I feel like that question could
Ooh.
just lead me
Ooh.
into like loads of gossip about what do people do. And like you just would, I say you wouldn't believe it, but then I actually think you would because it's the case, it's the stuff that you don't see, but it does go on behind the scenes. So what people might not know about me is not only do I own a legal template shop and it's become popular with so many entrepreneurs in the UK, I also have my own law firm in the UK. So I'm a UK-based solicitor, but I have a law firm which is fully regulated by the Solicitors Regulation Authority. So I sort of have these two remits where on the one hand I'm selling templates to people and they're doing their own thing, but on the other side I am dealing with commercial litigation all the time and disputes and people not paying one another. So I see what happens when things go wrong a lot of the time and a lot of big mistakes that people are making. I see when people, for example, have a group session, a group, like they might have a group program and they haven't put protection in place for themselves leading that group program, and they've got participants in that, so the people who have paid to be part of the mastermind or whatever it might be, and they're going against each other and they're stealing each other's ideas and each other's IP, and then they come back at the group host or the mastermind lead and they say, well, you should have stopped this from happening. Why didn't you protect us from other people stealing our ideas? Or worse still, we have scenarios where the coach steals the coachee's ideas and they were saying like, how am I not protected about this? I shared this idea and they've taken it and it was my idea and I've literally paid them for coaching and then they've gone and released this thing. And so I think people don't understand that legal is woven into everything that we're doing, and you kind of almost want to think of it as your commercial practice rather than, it's like the commerciality of what you're doing rather than it's this like separate thing that's just forms or documents. So yeah, there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that I think people don't know about, but when you think about it, you're like, oh, well, it's obvious that must be happening as well behind closed doors.
I suppose with a lot of the businesses we work with are sort of more soulful business owners. And I suppose a lot of them don't want to believe that anyone would act in such bad faith and have such unethical practices that they would steal their ideas.
Yeah, I think it's really hard, isn't it? Because sometimes people say, I didn't know. So they'll say, and you say it's not in bad faith, but they'll say something like, I didn't know. I didn't know I couldn't copy that. I didn't know that I wasn't allowed. Like, they don't understand the basic principles of copyright. And I think this is where there's going to be a huge shift with the use of AI. And there's just been a massive blur in terms of who owns what with copyright. And I think it's that bit that people don't know, but just because you don't know something doesn't make you innocent and not allowed to do it. And I think that that's where it's very difficult for business owners, because fundamentally you want to just do the thing that you're doing, whether that's website design or coaching or another soul-led industry, whatever the services you're doing, you want to just focus on that. You don't want to have to do bookkeeping, the accounting, the legal, but we have to. And I think if you are setting yourself up in business and you're saying, I want to work with people, if you are someone who is soul-led, you would probably think that you've got an obligation to do business fairly and that people can trust you. And therefore you do have to do the bits that, yeah, sometimes they are boring. I'm never going to be the first person to say legal is the most exciting part. But I think done well, it can really empower you and it can make you feel excited about your business.
Yeah, I love that reframe of it's showcasing that you are legitimate business. You do care. You care about your clients. You care about how, you say, kind of having that in place, but not only protects you. Like, I think we tend to think of like, oh, it's me protecting myself, covering my backside, but actually you're protecting your clients as well. And I think that's just such a lovely way to frame it, that it's for, but it's covers the interest of both parties, and then you know where you stand. And actually it's an important thing to have in place. And I think the scary thing is the unknown, like you don't know what you don't know. And I think that's where being in your world, following you on socials, is so valuable, because I've learned so much from following you, and the things that come up, with language you can't use, so many that you just think, God, I didn't even think of that. And obviously nobody teaches us that, because we're running a small business, we're not part of a big corporation, we don't have a legal department we can refer to. So yeah.
And I think what you just said then is also another perspective on it, in the sense that people often think about it being themselves, but think about what your client's going to want to see and how they are going to feel. And that's something you just touched on then, but it's going to give them the confidence. And actually, if people come to your website and you've got nothing there at all, there's no privacy statement, there's no website terms, there's no sort of terms and conditions at all, they're going to probably go another direction, because they're not going to feel very safe. We've had people before call and just say, I just wanted to, or like asked to speak to someone, get on a call, and I just wanted to check it was like a real person and it's a legitimate thing. And people are scared, aren't they? And I think you've got to give people that hand holding to show that you're one of the good guys, because I think we're so far down the road now in terms of online business and the way that business has developed and the way that there's opportunities here. But there are a lot of people who are not good eggs. Like there are people who are just trying to make money or not deliver on what they're going to do. So you almost have to work even harder as a business owner to show, yes, to protect your own business, but actually to protect your clients and to make them feel comfortable and confident working with you. And remember, a lot of the time they may never have done the work that you're about to do either. They're coming to you as the expert, the first experience of working with a coach or setting up a website or whatever it might be that they're doing. They don't know what to expect, but your terms and conditions, or the way that you walk people through that process, yes, it's your legal terms, but actually it's just hand holding them through, like, this is what's going to happen when we work together, this is how it will work. And if you're ill, this is what will happen. If I'm ill, this is what will happen. And people then go, okay, this feels okay. And it relaxes everybody's nervous system. And we go, okay, this doesn't feel like I'm going to get scammed here situation. It feels like I can be confident that they are an expert at what they're doing, because they're walking me through the process step by step. And actually it's your terms and conditions that are doing that, but it's actually, as I was saying before, it's your business process. It's they're doing business in a really great way.
Yeah, and I think as you as the business owner, it gives you the answers that you need that your clients might ask you. It kind of gives you that framework to reference when there is a question, or if you say if someone was ill or they don't pay on time, things like that, where you can actually go, okay, I've got the answer here. It's written down and I can refer to that. Kind of gives you confidence as well, like where your boundaries are and how that's laid out with the client.
I think what's really apparent here so far in this conversation is how the legals are actually tying back to those foundations that we've been talking about throughout this entire series of your mission, your vision, your values, knowing your ideal client, and how that ties in then with sorting the legal stuff is, you are living your values, you're demonstrating your values, you're showing how you're going to achieve your mission, and that you're factoring in who your ideal clients are and what they need.
100%. Yeah, exactly. And I think that that's why it always feels like a little bit disappointing to me, or sometimes I just think I just need to continue doing the work that I'm doing if people are just like, oh, legal's just that bit on the footer of your website. If you think that, you're really missing out on an opportunity, as you say, to bring in the values of your business, to actually and allow it to elevate your business. Done properly, legal doesn't only make you be more professional and be legally compliant, which obviously are two requirements, but it also allows you to work through those bits, to think about, where do I stand on like moral issues as well. So if somebody's saying to you, I can't pay, where do you stand on that? Because if they've contracted to you contractually, you're in the right. They've said, I'm going to pay for your services, and then they say, I can no longer pay you. Is that, well, where are you going to, what will you do next? Does it matter if they say, I can't pay you because I spent all my money? I mean, what we often get, I see a lot, is people come to me and they say, so-and-so hasn't paid, and they've just signed up to another mastermind, or they've just signed up to work with another coach. What do I do now? Because it's not that they don't have the money, or they potentially don't have the money because they've just given it to somebody else, and they're looking for answers. And I think sometimes then they say, well, what did you say to them? What were you going to deliver? Did you not get them the results? But what if that it isn't the case, that they've signed up for another coach and they just say, we've had a family bereavement and I've not been able to work in my business, or I've got an illness and I therefore can't continue to work? Then what do you do? And should that answer of what you do next change because you're a small business owner? Because all of the big energy companies and water companies and those kind of things are going to have contracts in place with you too to deliver services. And what do they do when they say somebody's lost a job? Do you know, lost their job or can't pay the bill? Do they care if you've gone off and spent your money on holiday or whatever it might be? I think there's so much to unpack when you're thinking about what should my refund policy be, or my policy be on late payments. It's not just a case of, oh, what does the law say? It's actually really thinking about what your ethics are, in a way.
Yeah, and obviously as a small business, if you don't get paid, like you've probably, you're not a big corporation. There's less profit margin in a way, probably, not for everybody, obviously, but to be able to deal with that. So obviously making sure that you are protected as well, because you, as you say, the mortgage isn't going to delay because, oh, my client didn't pay me, so I can't pay you this month. Like the world doesn't work like that. So yeah, we're kind of really thinking through all
and the
those
impact
scenarios.
When you are a business owner, if you've outsourced to a small team, especially because I think, like probably like both of you, I'm very much rooting for the small businesses. So I work with other small businesses as well. So if somebody doesn't pay my business, it doesn't just have a knock-on effect on me personally and my family. It has a knock-on effect on the other small businesses I work with. And so that's why it's so important as you as a business owner to be like, okay, what is my policy going to be? Because if I'm letting these people off paying, that's fine if that's my decision. Like, I'm never going to say to anybody, you have to do this, you have to follow the law in this way. You can let people off paying if you want to, but you've then got a legal obligation to pay your service providers that are supporting your business. And have you got the cash flow in place? Because it's really important then to be like, if I'm going to do this on refunds or non-payment or whatever my process is going to be, that then is going to inform how much I need as a buffer in the reserves of my business. Because if I'm going to let people not pay, then I'm going to have to make sure that I've got a pretty good pot to ensure that I can not breach my own contract, because otherwise people won't want to work with you. So I think it's definitely not just a case of, oh, it's just a bit of legal text that doesn't really go anywhere. There's a lot more thought that needs to go into it.
Yeah, no, it really does. So what would you say then? I guess obviously that might sound like a lot to people. I kind of don't overwhelm people straight away, but I guess in a way it's sort of like what are the kind of key building blocks that people need to put in place for their business? Like what are the kind of the legal requirements as such, rather than the nice to haves?
Sure. So every business owner should have a gold standard set of terms and conditions. And I think it's really important at this point to pause and say, is it terms and conditions and contracts and agreements, like, are they all the same thing? And essentially, maybe they are. Agreements and contracts are often used interchangeably. That word is used to mean the same thing. But often people will talk about their terms and conditions and they mean the terms that are in their contract. So I know that even just the legal side can feel overwhelming with the jargon or the different phrases. But when I say a gold standard set of terms and conditions, I mean whatever your signature offer is, whether that is a digital course and program and therefore it's terms and conditions, or it is a service where you have a contract, that you are very confident that those terms that cover off that signature offering are really good and they're robust and you understand what they say. And when I say you understand what they say, you understand what they mean, why you've put things in, why you've left things out, and that they are very good. So a good set of terms is critical, but interestingly, not a legal requirement. I think that's something that's really interesting. You are legally obligated to tell consumers about their right to a refund. But if you are working business to business, you don't have to even talk about what your refund policy is. And I think that's very interesting. It's not a legal requirement that you have terms, but I think it's the fundamental part of being able to run a successful business that you would have them. Things that are a legal requirement include data privacy statement, having website terms with a cookies policy. Website terms overall are not necessarily a legal requirement, but having a legally compliant cookies policy is. And also now having an AI policy. There are legal requirements that have come in about transparency and about doing explaining when you're using AI in a transparent way, which now adds another thing onto the list of the basics that you have to have. So those fundamental building blocks look like having sort of the key legal things, as sort of 3 legal documents that you need, and then also having those terms and conditions that are robust and that you understand.
Yeah, I think AI is going to be one that would catch people out in terms of, there's so much in the business space that's telling us to use AI, and, there's so many different platforms, so many ways you can use it, but actually making sure that you're disclosing when and where, and if that impacts, I guess, the work you do with clients or the information that you're showing. Is it for copy as well as imagery? Because I know imagery was one that you had to disclose.
Yeah, so it's fascinating because I think when I've had this conversation with people, they've said, I didn't even realize that that's AI, and how incredible is a world that we're living in now, where people don't even know when they're using AI and things. So in terms of legal requirement, it's all about transparency of when you use it, and you wouldn't have to disclose at this stage. So I suppose this bit possibly could change. It's only current as to now, but you don't have to disclose that if you've created a caption, if you've done an email marketing, if you've updated a sales page and you've used copy. You do have to make certain disclosures in terms of imagery. But interestingly, it's the social platforms have actually gone further than some of the legal requirements. This is why it's also really important to know. So something like Instagram have said that there has to be an alert, some wording, a notice on an image if it looks like it's real and it isn't, or if it's those videos where it looks like I'm saying something, but it wasn't me that said it, but it's in my sound and voice. You have to have disclaimers on those, but it's about the realness of it. So if you create something when it's just so creatively never going to look real, you don't even have to put the disclaimer on it necessarily. But the social platforms have said there has to be a disclaimer. But I think those bits potentially are obvious. It's more the things of when you are using it day to day. So say, for example, someone comes into a Zoom meeting and they've got their own AI note taker running. What happens with that? Are they allowed to have notes of the meeting? If they're in a group and it's a group call, can they have notes of the meeting? If they go into a breakout room and there's a note taker running, it's all of those kind of things, because that actually feeds very much strongly into data privacy, data protection, what people are saying. And remember, obviously, if you've got a group of clients coming into a meeting, they all only have a contractual relationship with you. So the GDPR element is only going to be, and you're saying you'll protect their data, but they don't have these reciprocal agreements with each other. So if one person's got a copy of all these notes, they can essentially do what they like with it, and there's no protection for you. And similarly, there's no IP protection on any of that. So what we were saying sort of earlier in the conversation, if somebody's sharing information within a group call, and it's their idea, how are they protected to have the confidence to share things? And I think that's where, as business owners, we really need to be able to take the lead and confidently say, this is my approach on AI note takers in calls, or this is my approach on how this is going to work to look after the rest of our clients. And when you might think, okay, well, I'll just not let them in, someone then will say, well, what about my right to accessibility? And I like it because I get notes. And to what extent do you have to make it accessible for them? And there's so much to think about, that I think that it's a big evolving area of law that you need to be able to sort of keep up to speed on. And I think that's one of the big challenges that entrepreneurs face with the legal side, is like, how do you manage to keep on top of all of this? And I think that, I mean, I'm going to say follow me on social media for the answer to that question, because I think it's just one of those things where there's lots of other people doing sort of similar things to me as well. So there are other providers, but follow people who are properly qualified to tell you the answers, or to steer you and to say, have you thought about this, or what about this element? And I think about things like listening to a podcast like this, where you're going to bring on the experts who are going to share their expertise and say, this is something that's coming that you need to stay aware of. So I think it's great that you're bringing on the right people to talk about these issues.
Yeah, I mean, I think GPSR is a good example of something that came quite out the blue. And I know with the small business groups I'm part of, a lot of them are selling products and into Europe. And, I just saw a stream of messages of like, I don't know what I'm doing with this. I'm going to have to stop all my orders to Europe for now until I get this sorted out. And everyone was just kind of like, what do we do? So I imagine for you, that was kind of, gathering that information and helping people navigate those kind of things. I know that one, I think even for you, came a bit out the blue.
I think for me, I mean, these kind of things, it never comes out of the blue, because it was done. It came into force last year. So if anybody listening to this who doesn't know what GPSR is, it's general protection safety regulations in respect of products that are sold into the EU. And in December 2024, a new law came into force that said everybody has to have a European representative. Now, I think what did catch me unawares was how little people knew about it, because it had been enacted like the May 2023. Right. So there'd been a long run up, but nobody knew about it. Nobody was talking about it. And then obviously it got to December, which is the time for small product businesses to like do their thing and to make a lot of their revenue. And everybody was talking about it. And it actually led to me setting up a whole new entire business. I have another business. I now have 3 businesses. One of them is based over in Ireland. And because I'm so passionate about supporting essentially UK small businesses, lots of our clients now in the Irish company are UK small product-based businesses who were like, how can we do this? What do we need to do? Can you give us the templates? So we're essentially modeling the template shop, but working with the business out in Ireland to fulfill the requirements. And so, my January ended up being back-to-back trainings of trying to get people opened up to delivering, to be able to deliver products again to Europe, because they'd all had to shut, which is just awful, isn't it? And I think that's the big thing, isn't it? Is if you don't keep on top of these things and you don't know it's coming, then you potentially end up stopping your business. And I don't know, but for me, that if I had to stop trading immediately, that would be a huge issue for me.
Yeah, then we can all agree with that. Definitely. Should we move on to kind of like the mindset stuff, I guess, in a way? What are the kind of mindset blocks you see with people around kind of legal stuff? I mean, I imagine one thing would be people expecting it to be very expensive to get legal support. And obviously that's where the template shop obviously really helps and makes it accessible to people. So what are the kind of mindsets you see around people getting legal stuff sorted?
Yeah, this is something I actually often ask at the start of every live training, like, what do you think? What do people say? And less people are saying expensive. That you're right, people are concerned about the cost, but I think people don't necessarily offer that, whereas it's a concern, but they're not willing to say, oh, it's it's too expensive. But one person the other day said a bit grim, which I thought was funny. People say overwhelming, confusing. They feel like just exasperated by it. They don't see the clear route through. They feel like often, even if they're going to do a bit of it, that probably even from listening to this, you're thinking, oh, I thought I knew things and I've just chipped a little bit away off the surface, and now there's so much more underneath. And there is, but it doesn't have to feel complicated or overwhelming. Like, we have put together resources, for example, that give people a checklist or give people a roadmap through what they do need to know. So hope in an attempt to support people. I think the idea of it being boring, hopefully we've discussed like throughout this, that it doesn't have to feel boring. It can actually empower the way you do business. And think of it in this way, like, if you win a new client, you want to feel excited about sending your contract to them. You want to be like, yes, I'm so excited. I can't wait to work with you. Here you go. Everything's here. You don't want to feel like, oh no, this is the bit I dread. Like, I've got to open that document and I don't know what to put in where, and I just don't know what I'm doing. And that is why we created the templates, because ours are plug and play, and it's highlights like, put your name here, put their name there, and make this bit specific to what you're doing. And we've tried to make it as easy as possible. But I think that there is just a recognition that there will be some things in business that you find harder than others, and some things that are more difficult. Like, I do not know what happens to me when it comes to tech. I try really hard. Like, I'm not tech savvy, but like sometimes just the tech does not work, or it just does not want to work for me. And I often feel that can be holding me back, because I'll be like, oh, I really want to do this, or I want to do this like wait list or a landing page or this kind of thing. And I'm like, oh no, I now have to work out the tech bit to go behind it. So it's not that I'm not immune to any of the struggles. I can totally relate. And like Facebook ads, when I started doing those, I was like, what is this language? What are we talking about? Like, this is just a foreign thing to me. I'm a small business owner too, and I have these challenges, and we just have to overcome them, because with the tech, it's now streamlined. It works. I started using Facebook ads last year, and the revenue and the growth and the fact I can actually reach more people, which is my core aim. It's been really great to have, like, I wouldn't say completely broken down that block. Like, I still think, oh God, if I have to open ads manager, I'm like, this is going to be awful. But I'm working with the expert to help me. And I think that's the thing, is you don't have to do it alone. You don't have to do business alone. And I think things like having a podcast like this to listen to, you're not alone when you're doing it. And I think if you are trying to do business yourself, you're just making it a lot harder. Like, just go and find the right experts. Don't necessarily invest straight away. Listen to what they're doing. Get some of their free material, free resources. Take one of their courses. This is what I did with Facebook ads. I started right at the bottom, took a little bit before I then went on to hire, because you don't necessarily feel like you want to invest right away, but just sort of educating yourself in these bits, and just knowing that there's going to be parts of business which are not as fun as doing the part that really lights you up and your business.
Yeah, it's almost like chipping away at it, because obviously it's a lot, isn't it? When you think of, like, obviously we're experts in our own area, but obviously each one of us then have to deal with all the other areas that we're not experts in, and as you say, reaching out to others to help with that. And I think particularly for those that are just getting started, that feels like a really long list, doesn't it? But it's just kind of like step by step, as you say, start at the bottom, become aware, start listening, following, gathering that information, and then building that up, and as you say, then reaching out if you can to get someone to support you with it, because it's a lot to think about.
Yeah, definitely. And I think when you are at the start, you often see people who are so much further ahead than you, and you think, how would I ever bridge that gap? And I think we probably could all agree that, like, my business has not just gotten from the day one to what it looks like now. There's been a number of versions in between, and each time I've been like, oh, this isn't perfect, this isn't exactly what I want, but it's just better than it was before. And I think that's the key thing for it, is to just keep those little incremental improvements, and to keep doing the best that you can, and tackling those bits as and when they come up, and like just that awareness of, okay, yeah, this bit really does need improving now. And some things, as I say, are a legal requirement. Some things, even with the finances, you have to pay certain taxes at certain times. You can't just be like, I'm just not doing accounts for this bit, this is not my accounts section. You have to do those things, but you don't have to have an accountant at the start, or you might, I think some things like that just really do make your life easier. But you don't have to invest in that if that's not what you want to invest in at the start.
Yeah, no, exactly. Even with that, you've got accountants that still do kind of coaching or hold your hand through the process, like you're kind of learning to do it yourself, but with their support. So there's lots of different ways and levels of support that you can get, which is amazing.
And I think that's you're right with anything that's got education based with it. I think is just so valid and helpful for small business owners, because if you're learning as you go, then actually your growth in the future is going to probably be bigger and you'll be more successful, because I think you're understanding how those pieces fit together. So if you can get sort of basic guidance on the finances, then it'll inform your decisions further on down the line. It'll make you understand the cash flow. It'll help you to be able to make better decisions. So yes, you might think, oh, this is a drag, but also I feel like this is something that people have with legal. They have this bit of a cloud and it can feel really heavy. And I think impact mental health as well. When we're talking about how you feel and how does business feel and can we do it with ease, sometimes doing the task is actually the best thing for you and your business, and not putting it off and not thinking snooze till next month and not thinking, oh, I'd rather have the afternoon off. That's like for your mental health. Sometimes it's like, actually, I'd love to sit in the garden, but in the sunshine, and I haven't got pressing client work. But for my mental health, the best thing I could do now is tackle that really difficult part of my to-do list.
You've mentioned money and cash flow a couple of times, and it would be remiss of us not to mention the fact that we have got an episode with Elizabetha, who is an accountant, and there's so much crossover here between what the two of you are saying that I think we should really say at this point, go and listen to that episode as well, if what Lucy is saying here about money and money mindset and cash flow and not putting off your tax returns is sparking a little bit of niggly worry for you. Lucy, obviously no one teaches you how to run a business. And one of the scariest things when it comes to legal is obviously you don't know what you don't know. What's the best way for small business owners, freelancers, and sole traders to stay informed about legal requirements and regulations, do you think?
Well, aside from obviously recommending myself, which I feel like as small business owners we have to do, by the way, this is not me just saying follow me, but also it's very hard, isn't it, when you know you've got the thing that someone needs, not to shout about it. So definitely follow me on social media and make sure to sign up to our alerts. But I think also looking at the government offerings. So obviously people might be listening from across the world, so it'll be applicable to wherever you are based. But in the UK, we have some incredible resources where they do send email alerts and notifications. You can go on free trainings for things. So for example, with trademarks, the British Library do a lot of work with the trademark office, and you can get alerts on those things. So I think it's when you understand the fundamentals, it's going to those like government bodies and making sure you're on those wait lists and things, so to hear about training. So considering GPSR again, the Department of Trade were doing free training sessions all throughout December on what you needed to do. They were giving you the most up-to-date answers in respect of what the European Union was saying. They were bringing all of that in. So when anything changes, you can get free training. And I think that's what's also really, really important as a business owner, to understand where you can get good free training. So I would definitely go to the government bodies, because they often bring in experts and things to do that. Or you can find lots of other resources, such as Small Business Britain. I was recently selected for 2025 to be one of their top 100 entrepreneurs for the year. So I've been working closely with Small Business Britain. You're clapping, thank you. With Small Business Britain, and they are doing things. So there's bigger companies, for example, like BT and eBay. I'm doing a training session with eBay coming up. The bigger corporates will bring in the experts that you need. And again, it's often for free. So following something like Small Business Britain, they'll find experts for you as well, that are the leaders in the industry. And I think that helps then to drown out a bit of the noise. And if you can, yes, there are lots of people speaking on lots of different topics, but for me, I just sort of like to find one or two people on certain things that I know and trust. So I'll only follow a few accountants, like just a couple of accountants or a couple of other people, because otherwise there's just so much noise and people do have different ways of doing things, don't they? And you just don't want to get drowned out by the noise, I think, sometimes. And just, yeah, you just want to decide what you're doing, who you're going to work with, and then, yeah, continue to follow them. And the government offerings are often really good, and they're often free.
Yeah, it's really nice when you find those kind of people that, as you say, you trust and also just kind of resonate with how you like to work. As you say, there's lots of people working lots of different ways. So it is really nice when you kind of meet those kindred spirits. Makes everything much easier when they kind of understand where you're coming from, and you've got those sort of similar values.
Yeah.
Which what I love about a lot of what you talk about, Lucy, is how you're very much pro sort of building a business on your own terms, which is kind of in a way how the podcast really came about, wasn't it? Where we were kind of like ranting and raving behind the scenes together, me and Lee, about
yeah, surely not
talk for England, about kind of it doesn't need to be the kind of hustle culture. You can, lots of people that come into our world and lots of clients we work with have had the kind of corporate burnout careers and are choosing to set up their businesses, to live a life on their own terms. How have you implemented that in your own business, and how do you support others to do that?
Yeah, I think fundamentally you have to decide, like, what is it that's important in your life. And a few years ago, I was at a bit of a crossroads, and I'm happy to share, I suppose, a bit of a warning. It is about loss. We were going through a very difficult time trying to conceive at the time. And I just sort of thought at that point, what is the most important thing to me here? Like, am I trying to build do I want a family? Do I want to have a career? And I kind of thought, I don't think that the two have to only happen in isolation. It shouldn't be a family life or a career. But it was never going to be a career in the city in the terms that they wanted it to be on, because I just was absolutely exhausted. You say corporate burnout, working in a law firm. I mean, you can probably imagine what the hours were like. And I've now just replaced it as working myself, actually, which is funny. But I think that I knew what I was doing, and I know I'm so passionate about working. Like, I'm not a recovering workaholic. I love it. Like, cut me open, I am Lucy Legal inside. Like, I'm so passionate about supporting small businesses, but I also want to have a life, and I want to spend time with my family. I now do have a young family, which is really exciting. And I did just take them out to the Alps for a month. We went out to France because it's my dream to ski and to just be in a chalet. That dream happened before I had a small family, and actually having two tiny people out in the Alps is not quite the dream that I'd envisaged, but it was in some ways better. But yeah, watching the girls, the littlest is 2, and so she was on skis and just learning to ski then, and the oldest one is 4, and she's just zipping around, and yeah, probably better than me by next year. I'm working as well. It wasn't a holiday. We did take the time to go on a family holiday, and we do that separately, but this was working. This was the day-to-day goes turning up for, I've got a membership as well, turning up for the Zoom calls, being there, delivering what I was meant to deliver, and then having that freedom-based lifestyle. Like, I never thought I'd have a laptop lifestyle. But it's understanding as well that all of that does come back to the factor of, well, are you able to do that within your business? Have you set your business up in a way that you can have this freedom, that you can go and plant vegetables if that's what you want to do, go for a walk on the beach if that's what you want to do? Have you created something that is just another 9 to 5, or could you go for a walk at 3 o'clock? And all of that does come back to terms and conditions and deliverables, and when you're going to deliver things. And do you have to ask for permission to go on holiday, or have you got it in your terms and conditions about what will happen about holidays? And it's all of those kind of things that we think, oh yeah, that's really obvious when I think about it, but I possibly haven't put it in my terms. And yeah, just creating this life that I feel like I'm so lucky, because I get to create a ripple effect. Because when people come to me, it's often at the start of their business journey, or just when they've decided, actually, I definitely need to protect things now, and they get the protection in place, and they start working on building this dream, and it allows them the freedom and the headspace to not worry about the legal things, but to create a business which is going to impact the world in a really positive way. And sort of my small bit where I give them the legal templates and the confidence to say, yeah, go off and do that. It can change not only the people that the lives of the people they work with, but their own life and their own family life, because they can create a really successful small business, and maybe not even small anymore, but it just snowballs. And I think that's what's so exciting about the work that I do.
Yeah, that's so lovely. And I think we're so on the same wavelength with that idea, you know, and it's so inspiring to seeing people, you know, taking the reins and carving out lives how they want to live it. And it's not all glossy and lovely either, as you said, you know, like you're kind of probably doing the same hours. I know I'm doing the same, you know, working long hours to get, you know, when you're building your business, sometimes you do need to do that. And there are difficult times, but then, you know, if you have got that freedom and flexibility, if you have, you know, intended your business to be that way, as you say, whether it's a loss or a family illness or something, you know, if you need to be elsewhere, having that freedom and the things in place to allow you to take that time if needed, is priceless, really.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that there's always this sort of thing of like, when you work on your business and what you're doing, and like I'm spending time with the children in the daytime often, and that's why I'll be working late. So people often say to me, "You're so busy, Lucy, all the time." And yeah, because I'm not working 9 to 5 hours. And I think that when people often say, "Oh, you need to make sure you have a CEO day and you work on your business," and that kind of thing, I actually think that's a luxury. I think at the start, working on your business or carving out that time to work on your business is a luxury that I'd never had. And I think that's because I was raising a young family and was very present in doing that. But that's the way I wanted it to be. And so it was a case of, actually, I want to provide for myself. I was really wanted to be able to match my salary. I didn't want to have to depend on anyone else. So I wanted to do that work. I wanted to bring the revenue. I wanted to support people as well and be part of what they were doing. And I think that, yes, it is important to do that work on your business and those behind the scene tasks, because if you don't dedicate time to that, it can very quickly feel overwhelming and feel very stressful. As you say, this cloud of like knowing something's not done. But at the same time, sometimes we have to just acknowledge we have to put food on the table and we've got bills to pay. And actually the revenue generating work does sometimes has to take priority, and some of the other bits are a nice to have. And I think it's understanding which bits you can pick up and put down. I'll speak to legal because that's what I do, but which bits of the fundamentals, get those in place, and then let's go back and look at it. It's not a one and done thing when you do legal. Like, you do it and then your business will evolve, things will change, you want to make improvements, you want to get a trademark, all of those things, but you don't have to necessarily do them on day one. You just need to know when to pick those bits up and when they are important. But yeah, really passionate about supporting people to, I guess, I think it's good, it changes your life, doesn't it? I guess both of you as well would attest to this, like running your own business absolutely changes your life. And so knowing that you've done that in a way that is done properly, it's protected, you're not going to lose it, like the feeling of relief, I think, almost, that it gives you when you've done it properly. Because I am that person too. I leave tasks on my to-do list. I'm like, this is going to be awful. It's going to take me ages. It's going to be the worst thing. And I'm like, oh God, I've still not done this. It's half a day's job and I've not done it. And I sit down and I'm like, okay, I've done that in 20 minutes. Probably could have done that a lot sooner. Probably would have been a lot easier, and all that stress. But I will never change. That will still be me. I'll still do that with every job that I have to do. But it's knowing how you are as well, and like just thinking like, sometimes I'm just going to bite the bullet. And yeah, it was literally, even last night I did a job and I was like, oh man, I've been trying to do that for like literally 5 months. I should have just done it sooner. So,
you spent more time dreading and worrying about it than actually doing it.
100%. I know it's like I won't change, but I can suggest to the listeners that that's a good way to
do as I say, not as I do. It is hard to carve out that time though. I mean, I've got several things, and I think with the way technology is going, I mean, obviously I'm working with technology all the time, but the platforms that you use, the softwares, like, it's great. We've got all this available to us to help and support us in business, but my God, are they updating at a ridiculous speed? And things are changing, prices are jumping. Like, it's difficult to navigate all of that, and sometimes some of those tasks are like, to do that I need to kind of go and learn a whole new thing, which can feel really overwhelming. But you say, like, sometimes the dreading it is the worst bit, and actually if you get on and do it, and then you can feel pretty proud of yourself that you've managed to tackle it and tick it off the list.
I think it's hard. Like, I think for my whole career, I sat in rooms where often I was the only woman, and often I was the one that knew what was going on and I knew the right answers and things. And I think sometimes you have to speak up, but you have to say it in a way that people understand. Like, I would watch as people didn't know what the other person was talking about. They'd use bigger and bigger words. They were talking around in circles. And I was thinking, you don't know what you're even talking about for some of these people. And some of them did. Like, literally, we had like the best experts in the country that I had got on our cases and things, and they were absolutely incredible at what they did. But that's not going to help you in a legal case. It's working out what all of that is and distilling that information. And to say, I think having that skill to make things simple is a skill that not everybody has, but also legal is complicated. I'd be remiss of me to say it isn't, but it doesn't have to feel complicated, and you just have to find the right people. As I said before, with tech, with Facebook ads, with all of the things of running a business, find the people that you understand the best and will help you navigate that route through. That's your best way to finding success. Find a couple of people in each industry, help you navigate the way through, and just kind of mute out the noise. Like, people have got this podcast now, they know they like you. Listening to something like this is just so helpful. And for me, I'd be like multitasking as well, off for a walk, getting some steps in, doing the things that I know Sammy loves to do, being down by the coast. It's all of those things that you can sort of tie into living the life that you love as well.
Yeah, you can plug in on her. Lee's based in the forest, so I'm coast, she's forest, so he'll be out hiking in the forest with the dogs.
Amazing, what a dream.
That or growing my veggies, because
Yeah.
I am one of those.
Oh yes, I've just started growing cucumber as well. It's the first thing I've tried to start growing, so I'm really excited about that.
Oh wow, that's quite
a topic for another conversation. But what can you grow, Lee?
Oh God, we'd be here forever if I told you everything that I've got growing. But potatoes, rhubarb, all kinds of berries, tomatoes, cucumbers are coming along quite nicely. I've got flowers on both at this point. I've got some squashes in. A lot of my plants have been gifted to me as well. I'm very lucky. I have very nice green-fingered neighbours who often give me things.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, and I think it's just in those early years, I think I'd have to say this, in the early years of running my business, something like this would have made me feel really triggered. Do you know, like if someone's talking about running their own business and having time to do these kind of things. And that was because I was in the stage where I had to have my head down and I had to work, and I had to, not that I don't work now, but it was just working in a certain way. And I think you move through, don't you? And you go to the next phase and the next stage. And that was never my dream at that point, to be able to grow vegetables. It's just now I've sort of restructured things and I have a little bit more time and thought it might be a challenge and something fun to do. But I think that, yeah, I used to find that really hard, and to think, how could anyone only work 4 days, or how can people do this? And everybody's on a different path and a different stage of their journey too. Everybody wants different things from life. Some people don't want to do that. They want to work. They actually want to work 9 to 5, or then they want to close their laptop and not think about it. And other people, want to have this flexible lifestyle. And that's why I love running my own business. And I think that's why it's so transformative for people to do it, because you can just create the life that you love.
Yeah, and as you say, you don't have to do it all at once, even with the, with your business stuff and the lifestyle stuff, because I did that where I had typical kind of, I was actually starting to grow my vegetables before lockdown, but obviously then when lockdown hit, it was like everybody was started growing their vegetables, and had a really successful couple of seasons. And then obviously with the business, then I was kind of in the transition of leaving my corporate job and moving into my own business, and my little veg planter sat empty for the last 3 years, because I was like, I just haven't got the time to dedicate to that, and I'm not going to stress myself out by trying to do that. I know I want that in my lifestyle, and obviously now we've managed to move house, we've got a bit of a bigger space, I can bring that back in. And so again, maybe not right now because of moving and everything that's taken on, but grow a few little things, but then next year, hopefully bring that back in. So as you say, like, things, you can do it gradually, you don't have to live the dream immediately. And as you say, everyone's on those different stages, and not to always compare yourself with someone that is several years down the line, who has all the processes and things in place, where a business can run more smoothly, and have more free time. That probably ties us up quite nicely into our final question. So how would you finish this sentence? Dear soulful business owner, I wish you knew, fill in the blank.
I wish you knew that a protected business will give you the freedom to scale.
Love it.
Beautiful.
Yes.
And
And I think scale there can be used, I think, on this in terms of business or even your life. It possibly could have been even now on this conversation, reflecting to think it could be even to live a life that you want. Yeah. And it's that protection and freedom that it gives you. So, and I love this conversation, and it's been so good. And I think I'm like trying to hold back of not draw all the comparisons in terms of like running a business and being years ahead, or like growing your vegetables and all of that, and how you can look and all of, there's so much in that. But yeah, probably for another discussion.
Yeah, we'll have to get you back for round 2.
before we go, and yes, I do think we definitely need to have another chat. But Lucy, where can people find you?
The best place to find me is on Instagram. That's where I hang out the most, and I'm Lucy Legal. So it's at Lucy_legal. Or I'm also on Facebook and LinkedIn. I will make sure that you have links in the show notes to give to people for our website, and I will direct you specifically on our website. We've got a checklist. If you go to lucylegal.co.uk/checklist, there's a checklist that you can grab and download, and hopefully help you to become more legally protected in your business.